People don't quit companies, they quit their managers. It's time to get perfect clarity on the criteria of what makes an ideal company profile for you. So this is very simple, and I'll give you an acronym so that you can remember to look at opportunities through this framework. And that is FILLS. This stands for function. So is it sales? Is it marketing? Is it accounting? Is it finance? Is it supply chain, etc.? Industry is it pharmaceuticals? Is it technology? Is it consumer goods? Is it banking? Location is where your target working location is. So that might be the city you're in right now, most likely, but it could also be a broader area if your industry is often accommodating remote work, or if you're looking to move to another part of your country or the world. Then level. So this is hard to define by job title itself, as we'll discuss later in this course, why job titles can be very misleading and how to look beyond that. But essentially, let's say that you're managing a team of 5 right now, and perhaps the next step for you is to manage a larger team of managers and staff, perhaps. So what you want to be looking for is that second layer or second line of management. So this is where you kind of want to imagine on an organizational chart, the level that you want to be at in terms of the influence you're going to be having on the organization and the environment you want to have yourself in. So function, industry, location, level. Now, I would add another one, which is S for size, but this could also mean the phase of the business, because size and the phase of business doesn't always correlate. For example, it could be a very small company, but very established and has been in business for a long time. Certainly those are outliers, but there's nothing wrong with that at all. That might just be exactly what is the best fit for you if you're someone who values flexibility and an intimate office environment and working with a small group of people that get to know each other really well, hopefully for the long term, that it's not too high turnover or something like that, because it is difficult sometimes for smaller companies to get stability and to retain their people for a long time, just because of the nature of a small company is often that it's lacking funding or trying to go from A to B and double or triple in size in a relatively short period of time. So beyond just the size of the company, if it's a small office or a big multinational corporation like a Fortune 500 company, you could also think about the phase of business that they're in. Almost every company out there is driven by growth. Every company wants to grow. Every leader of a company, every CEO, president is responsible for delivering some sort of growth, whether that's maintaining, which is around like 5% or so if you in the single digits, or more rapid growth, which is, we could say, in the double digits. More than 10% growth means it's outpacing the stock market, which is known to have a return of 7 to 10% are the numbers that I've heard most often. And I'm not a financial advisor, but just to give you a real world benchmark of what growth rates look like for a very stable versus rapidly growing company. And so with that comes different growing pains of an organization. And you might find yourself at a company that's just getting off its feet and establishing the leadership team. There could be a lot of investment. They're creating SOPs, standard operating procedures for how to run business. It can be really exciting because it's new. There's a new product or new technology or new vision, new idea, lots of attention from investors and stakeholders into the business. And it can be very exciting to see from 0 to 1 is a very significant increase, even if it's still relatively small. That 0 to 1 growth phase can be really rewarding for some people because it requires a lot of hard work, unpredictability, uncertainty, etc. Whereas as you then go from 1 to 100, there's acceleration and scaling, and that's where companies can go from having some stable revenue and stable customer base to then reinvesting that money continuously for a number of years to reach astronomical levels of growth and be bringing in new systems, processes, and perhaps even getting to the point of acquiring other companies. And then you get to the point where you're a big multinational corporation or a Fortune 500 company that's been in the business for decades, very stable, revenues compared to a smaller company, and therefore in a very strong buying position in the market, very cash rich position to acquire other companies and gobble them up. So just think about the phase of business that you want to be in and don't overthink it. Just go with what resonates with you. And then as you start looking at opportunities in the market, you can filter each one very quickly by just thinking, does this match my function, industry, level, location, and size or phase of business? Culture is also important, and that's just going to be something you're going to have to sense along the way with who you meet, because the culture isn't always tied exactly to the company, especially bigger corporations. The culture really comes from who you work with on an immediate day-to-day basis. They say that people don't quit companies, they quit their managers. So that's something that we're going to walk you through in the latter parts of this course, how to assess companies, how to assess job descriptions, so you can be able to sense and be very savvy about reading certain indicators to know what's going to be the best match for you.